Hmm.
I have a question for you straight off the bat.
Yeah,
Why do we always live stream and never dead stream?
because if we dead streamed, it wouldn't be nothing interesting and a boring video. It would be a boar necklace.
It took me a second, but that was good. Oh man, that was really good. Good job. Uh, so how are you feeling?
Oh, that's actually a lot deeper pun than I thought.
Really? How much? How so?
Well, like the necromance, like necklace.
Oh,
connection.
nice. Are you also trying to say that you're necrophiliac? Because then that's deeper, like on multiple levels. Like it's deeper because it's like it's very dark, and it's deeper just because it's another level deeper.
Well, I mean,
And
church
also the third way
technically,
is deeper in a sexual sense, which is gross to think about, but technically it's deeper on 3 levels.
I mean, in a sense, church is sort of like the spiritual equivalent of like non-sexual necrophilia. I mean, if we're using um Latin to define terms, okay, let me think of what is the, because I'm thinking about Greek and it's not the same in Greek. Never mind. I'm trying too hard to make this connection.
What, for some reason, you were talking about church and this popped up. I don't know why. Well, actually, I do know why, but I don't know why they would show it to me. So one of the like 2 Comic Club Award winners that I'm friends with on Facebook, like he posted a comment on a post in a group, and for some reason it appeared on my timeline. I don't get it. I'm like, that seems weird to me, but whatever. Anyway, it was a post in a Facebook group about religion, I'm assuming. I think the name of the group is like Jesus Loves You or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And someone created a post. There was an image post of like the Bible open and you could see like the text, and written over it in big red letters, it was only people who something like only people who believe in God will post amen. And there was like 25,000 shares and 1.1 thousand comments. And it just made me realize, like, if an audience is hyper targeted, such as religion, a comment like that will get so much interaction.
Uh-huh.
Like, what if we can replicate the effects of religion in our business? Is that possible?
I don't, I don't, I mean, to me, the answer is yes, it's possible. It's happened multiple times. The question is, how do you analyze what makes this predictable and then systematize it?
Well, I think it's the fact that it speaks to people's identity. So what
Mhm.
they're saying is like, if you're a true believer, you will comment amen. Otherwise, it implies that you're not. So
Mhm.
it's like people are like, are you questioning my faith? And the way to prove that your faith is by posting amen.
You know, that's a really good, that is such a good strategy, because it highlights the type of people that, like, if you know the right buttons to push, you can make them take action. Like, there are some people who, like, I mean, kind of like me, it's like you put a good idea in front of them and you let them figure out the idea for themselves, then they're all in 100%. If you try to push the idea on them, it's like, I don't care how good it is. Like, if I didn't come up with it, like, leave me alone. Like, just don't even try. And so I'm a little bit that way, where it's like, if I feel like you're trying to like push me to do something, even if it's really good for me, I'm like, I tend to resist it more. But yeah, so what would the equivalent of this be? Because I've seen this also in manifesting groups, which is very, to me, it's sort of like you're just taking the same type of person who would be attracted to religion. You replace the window dressing with something else, and it's the same type of mentality and, like, externalization of what you're wanting, and the way that you create is by delegating some of that responsibility to some other source or entity or something. And so I'll see bait posts in manifestation groups that it's something like, the thing you're manifesting is on its way to you. Just affirm to claim it now. It's like people want to like buy into that identity that, yes, I'm in the right energy of manifesting, I'm doing the right. So it's like, if you can zero in on the identity of what people the people are gathered around, and then make the big button to press is like, here's the key value that your identity is gathered around. It's like, to take action means that you're affirming this value that is a part of your identity. I mean, that's what my whole engagement masterclass is about, which is great in theory, but it's like, so what are the things that, like, the person that we're targeting, who wants to reduce overwhelm, how do we,
I'm just,
or is that really like our actual target audience?
I don't know, but this reminds me of another post that I saw, which was in the Freedom Initiative. And it also spoke to kind of a deep belief that people hold, yet it did it in a way that repelled people. And there wasn't a single comment. And then maybe it's like, I don't know, it was posted, I think, 4 hours ago when I saw it. So maybe it just didn't have enough time to garner engagement. But it was something along the lines of, the coaching industry is broken. How can we fix it? And that is a belief that a lot of people have. They're like, I want to get in this industry because I believe that it's not done properly and I want to do it properly. But by saying it outright, you're telling people like, hey, you're doing the wrong thing. Like, you're broken. How can we fix you? And people are like, no, I don't like that. So it's like, it's very similar, because it speaks to a belief that a lot of people have, yet it does so in such a way that it repels rather than attracts engagement. And I just found that interesting. Wait, I didn't look who posted. Was that you? That would have been hilarious.
No, that would be funny if it was. No, a friend of mine posted he said, what message would you put on a billboard for millions to see? And Brian's response just cracked me up. If Brian made a billboard that he would post for millions to see, he would write, in quotes, "Don't make me come down there, signed God."
It's funny because I also saw that post and I considered commenting like the exact question in the post. Like, this is what I would put on a billboard. If you could put anything on a billboard for millions to see, what would it be? Like, that's what you put on the billboard. But I'm like, nah, it's not worth it.
People buying coaching program.
But yeah, to come back to what we're talking about, I think this is worth exploring because if we're able to speak into that belief of like, the equivalent of religion, but for our beliefs. So it's like whatever that belief is, and we get them to the point where it's like, in order to prove that you are who you believe yourself to be, you need to purchase this course. Like if we're able to give that impression so that they get like that feeling by the end, they're like, well, no, it's not a question of will I buy it? It's a question of
Yeah.
I do it once I buy it.
Yeah. So I think sort of like, I mean, this is not as well targeted as like that question that you uses the example, but like if we can narrow the scope of this to something more concrete, but in the space of like, do you believe that running your business can be really easy if you have the right resources or support? Something in that space is like, if you actually believe that it can be easy, all you have to do then is just take action on that belief. So it's like, if we're giving you the system that makes it easy, all you have to do is accept it. All you have to do is allow that to be your new reality. And the way that you get to that is like by buying the course. But it's if you really actually believe that, oh, if I have this thing, it will make my life so much easier. It will make my business be able to run with less overwhelm and be able to get clients with less work. If you really believed that, then you would buy it.
I think you're right, but I think we need to like zoom in even more. So it's not like, do you believe it's possible? It's like, do you want to be the type of person who does that? And it's like, even more than that, it's like, are you someone who makes business fun and easy?
Mm,
It's
yeah.
like, that's what they captured with that post of like, hey, if you're
Yes.
in the face, you're gonna post amen. And this is like, if you're a person who makes business easy and fun, you're going to purchase this.
Yeah, and if you're not, you can become that person by making a different choice today.
But I think you're right. But I
Yeah,
think
it
that's
opens
like,
that loop of like, am I not that? It's like, like my business isn't fun. Well, like I don't want that as my identity. I choose to be something else. So now I have to like get my behaviors in line with what I'm choosing. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's the
I think maybe like, overwhelm or however we want to describe that is the problem they're trying to get away from. But
right.
the identity they want to have is it's like, I want business to be fun and easy. I
Yeah.
don't want to work hard. I don't want to be overwhelmed. I don't want to have to do like a million things. I just want to have fun and enjoy the
Yeah.
process of building the business and helping people.
Yeah.
Like if we can convey the message of this is for people like that.
Wealth without hustle. Something like if we can build some sort of philosophy around like, if there's a way to actually become wealthy in a hurry without actually feeling like
Uh, what if um, how we're like, structuring this? It's like 5 minutes of training. So it's like step by step, this is what you got to do. Then 10 minutes of, providing feedback and, helping people and stuff like that. It's like, what if it's like 5 minutes of work and then 10 minutes of let's just fuck around and have fun?
I kind of think that would be amazing. Like if you just scheduled the group calls were like an hour and it's like, all right, we're gonna do 5 minutes of work and then we're gonna play the whole rest of the time.
Oh,
And then it's like
it's good, because if you
it's
don't
like
want to stay the full hour, you can leave after 5 minutes.
yeah, but it's sort of like I think the people who stay and have fun are gonna actually be the ones who see the result. I mean it's sort of like the work isn't the part that makes it, it's so backwards, but the work isn't the part that makes it work. It's the kind of person that you are. And when you do stuff because it's like, well, this is just a part of who I am, is doing this stuff. Because if you just force yourself to do the steps, like if you use somebody else's system, or if you believe somebody else's beliefs, it's like you can't do something by imitating somebody else. Like you just become a copy of somebody else and you're not yourself. Like how many Elvis impersonators are there out there? It's like there's not ever been a single one that people are like, you know what, that guy's better than Elvis. Ever. And so it's sort of like, I don't know, I think it's the when you become the person who is having fun and also happens to be building your business and having fun doing it, it's like that's what's gonna make that identity become realized. So maybe that's the what is it, what do you call it, the
Pimple?
like sell them what they want but give them what they need. Sort of like if we promise them we're going to reduce your overwhelm, we're going to make things simple, we're going to make things easy, but what they actually, like the person that they're trying to be, whether they realize it or not, is like, I want this to be more fun. I want this to be less of a drain on me. It's like this needs to be the thing that is a source of optimism and like enjoyment. And we can turn it into that by, it's like we just structure it in a way that it's like you participate and it's going to be fun.
I think that does make more sense. It's like, I think this is more valuable than what we're proposing before, which was like, 5 minutes of work, 10 minutes of, feedback.
Uh-huh.
And like, that seems valuable, but in fact, like, if what we're selling is easy and fun, the easy is 5 minutes, the fun is we're here for an hour, just hanging out, answering questions, having fun, like whatever comes up. And you can attend if you want to or not, doesn't change anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I think on some level, so in that sense, if that's genuinely truly what we're trying to do, then the best advertisement for our program, I mean, obviously a webinar will give them the information that they need to make a decision, but if we just do our live stream like what we've been doing on YouTube, as like any place that lets us live stream into groups, is just we're just being our stupid selves, and this is what we do for our job. And it's like, wouldn't you be interested to know like how the hell are these guys making money doing this? It's like that being this person is what works. That's how it works in our world. And if you wanna move into that reality where you can actually just have fun, it's like you have to join us. You have to stand from the perspective where you could see the world working from this point of view.
Just realized something. I don't know why it just hit me, but this is the perfect example of selling yourself without selling yourself, kind of like in dating. where it's like the more needy you are and the more you try to prove yourself and explain why you're so valuable, the less people are attracted to you. And the more like indifferent you are, like, hey, this is who I am, like I don't care, like I am who I am and I don't care who sees it or who judges me. And it's like I'm not trying to impress you or trying to like get you like to go out with me, or in the business case, like get you as a client. It's just like, this is who we are. We do this with or without you. And it's kind of like it's exactly like dating, because it's like the less you care, the more you're authentically yourself and you just let people see that, the more attracted they're going to be to you. And then all it comes down to is put an offer out there of like, hey, want to go on a date? Just like, you don't need to chase them or pursue them.
Yeah.
And it's the same with business. It's like, hey, this is who we are. This is what we do. This is how we get paid and make a living and have fun.
Yeah.
And we don't need to sell you all the benefits. We just need to be ourselves and make an offer. It's like, hey, if you want to learn more, like just check out the link below, like sign up for the webinar where we actually explain how we can help you. This is just who we are. And it's like, I think this is really what we're missing. Like, we're too focused on the webinar and the business. Like, that's really good. But it's kind of pointless if we're always kind of in that business mode, because that's not who we are.
Right. Well, the brands that like are consistently making a lot of money, it's like they have one or two like main messages, and it's like they just repeat that over and over and over, and they farm out the marketing. I mean, they build the marketing so it works, they validate it themselves, but then once it's working, you just like run ads, give it to affiliates, let that message run on its own, and it's like, and then you just live your life.
Sorry, I was just thinking like, okay, what would our brand be? So it's like, fun and easy. And then it also locks in like, you don't need to be unique. You can just be normal. So it's like, all right, that's, business best friends. So it's like, all right, we are business best friends, but we're also best friends with our business. And the reason why I started laughing, I'm like, oh, we're basically having a threesome with our business. I guess that's one way to sell what we do. You want to have sex with your business.
But our business is also kind of our baby, so it's sort of like,
oh, that's like weird at another level.
yeah, it's like very, very strange. Trying to make it work like in a literal analogy.
But it's just, I had an example of, well, not the whole like, incest thing, but what I was talking about before, I had like an example of that recently where it's like, I went on a date with the girl last week. Yeah, last weekend. And then we saw each other again, I think the day after, but just like during the day for a couple hours. Like, we're supposed to spend the day together, but like something came up and she wasn't able to. And then we kept talking, like we're supposed to see each other next week, so this week. And we kept talking. At some point, she's like, all you think about is sex. I don't want to be with someone who only thinks about sex. And she pretty much stopped responding for a day. So I'm like, it's probably over. But just because that's not all I care about, it's not all I talk about. I'm like, I just made a comment of like, I don't know why you think that is. That is not who I am. But hey, if you don't like me anymore, I'm gonna respect that. Like, it's fine. And like, it took a day or two for things to kind of like go back, start talking normally again. And then we went on a date on Friday. So yesterday, no, 2 days ago. And after that, like during the date, she's like, hey, what are you doing tomorrow night? Like, do you want me to come over and spend the night? So I'm like, how did it go from, I don't want to be with you because all you talk about is sex, to me not talking about sex just because like it's not all I think about. It's just it's a fun way to like flirt and have fun and make jokes. So I'm like, I don't need to do that. So I just stopped doing it. And then she's the one who like wants things to happen. So I'm like, huh, okay.
Hmm.
And it's like it's like I don't like to play games like this, but that's really what fucking works. It's
Hmm.
like on Saturday, I had a date with a different girl. So I'm like, I don't want to be the guy who goes on 2 dates with 2 different girls during the same day.
Hmm.
Like, I'm not comfortable with that. So I'm like, well, I can't on Saturday, but I can on Sunday. So today we're
Hmm.
supposed to see each other tonight, and it turns out like she got her period, so we can't. But anyway, we're gonna see each other on Friday because that's her day off, and we're gonna spend the whole day together, and she's gonna
Hmm.
spend the night. And she's like, I want to like see you again and again. And I'm like, how does it go from I don't want to see you again because all you think about is sex to I want to come over and spend the night and see you over and over again. I'm like, don't I don't get it. It doesn't make sense, but that's just how it works.
But I mean, that's sort of how like all of life works. I mean, like
I know.
you think about like a saw. It's like you can't just say, I only want to pull in one direction. It's like just tell me the right way to do it, and I'm just gonna like keep going. It's like it's got to be this back and forth, like back and forth, in order to make progress on the task of like separating something. So it's like for what, and the same in business, like you kind of like push and pull people to like move them emotionally down like this funnel. um Storytelling is the same way. You set up conflict, drama, arc, it's like move around the obstacle. It's like you constantly flip the power dynamic of what's going on in the scene, in the beats, in the story. It's like it just comes in a form where you feel like it should be straightforward and simple. And I don't think that thing is a bad thing. It's sort of like that is the ideal that we know is possible in relationships. And getting to that requires this like sort of back and forth tug of war. But it's like once you actually know somebody and get to establish something with somebody, it's like then you start to know. It's like learning a song. It's like once you've heard the song enough times, then it's like, oh, okay, yeah. Like I know the melody, I know the lyrics, I know where it's going. And then that can kind of go on autopilot and you can kind of just enjoy the ride instead of it being like, it's like, why does why does this person keep saying a different word? It's like, why don't you just sing the same word? I can't, it would be so much easier to learn it. And it's like, but it's makes a whole lot more sense and is more enjoyable if you actually have like different words in it.
Ah, shit. I just I just realized that's what's wrong with most businesses and also a lot for dating. Because it's like most people are like, oh, I like this person, so I'm going to put in effort and try to win them over. And it's like by doing that, you're robbing them of the experience of wanting to chase you and to win you. Because like anything in life, if you
Mm,
have the effort of like I need to chase and I need to catch this and I need like you do this like it's way more valuable than you just getting handed something. And
mhm.
it's like we think like, oh, I just need to impress them. I need to do everything for them. I need to show them
Yeah,
how much I care. And that just has the reverse effect. And you're like, I don't get it. I'm giving you
yeah.
everything you say you want, but
Dang.
I'm robbing you of the experience of
Mhm.
like getting it by yourself.
So, okay, so I have a question. Should we be launching this at a lot higher price point, or should we have like a really limited launch window of like we're only gonna let like 6 people in at this $1,000 price, and then we're jacking the price up to like 4 grand? But then like no, we can lower the price to make it accessible to people, like on a call and be like, hey, I really like I saw your presentation, I really want to be in this program, but like, there's no way I can afford this. Do you guys do payment plans? Do it and be like, well, you know what? For you, how does $1,500 sound? It's like, how does $1,200 sound? It's like, you think, could you
How does
make that?
$4,000 sound?
Yeah. It's like, we're gonna charge $4,000. How does 4,004 sound? Like,
More
that's
expensive.
more. That, yeah, it's even more valuable to you if you. I don't know. I just
But I like it. It's kind of that like experience of how much is it? It's $100. Do you want it? Oh, I don't know. Oh, now it's 150. Wait, what? I thought it was now it's 200. You want it? Yeah, yes, I want it.
yeah. No, yeah, that's funny. It's like hmm. And maybe it depends on who you're talking to as well. Because I have the suspicion after hanging around like a big group of, because Brian has targeted heart-centered people pretty well. So most of the people in his Facebook group that I've gotten connected with are similar to me. And what I realized is like most of them don't seem to be very disciplined in their relationship to money. Like they have a pretty um I don't want to be derogatory, but I mean this in sort of like the clinical or dictionary definition of like immature relationship to money. It's sort of like haven't developed a lot of
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I just what you said made me realize something. I've experienced this in the past, and if I had the money for it, I probably would have fell for it. And it was that whole principle of, well, actually, it was the exact scholarship, but done in a different way of like, you can apply for the scholarship. We decide if you qualify or not. And we can do this in a like prepayment format. So it's like, hey,
Mhm,
we're only accepting 12 people. We're going to vet you to figure out if you're a right fit. You
mhm,
can pre-purchase now to reserve like your scholarship, and
mhm,
then we'll determine if you're a right fit. If you're not a right fit, we'll issue a full refund. You don't have to worry. So they pre-purchase. So it's like
mhm,
people who are a little on the fence. They're like, oh, I can pre-purchase, and then if ever I change my mind, I'll just get a refund.
mhm,
But I feel like a lot of people, once we're like, you know what? Okay, yes, you're a right fit for this. We accept you for the scholarship.
mhm,
Very few people will back out of that, even though they were hesitant at the beginning.
mhm.
And at the same time, it's like because we're charging up front, but it's not like you're accepted yet. People are like, oh, well, it's not really like I'm spending $1,000.
Right. Yeah. That's a good idea, especially if we launch it at like a $3,000 price point and be like, but the scholarship gives it to you at $1,000. We have to verify that you actually qualify for that scholarship. And if you don't qualify for the scholarship and you feel like $3,000 isn't what you want to pay, it's like you can have a refund. But it's like if you want to reserve your spot and check to see if you're qualified, it's like fill out this form. You can pre-purchase your scholarship and we'll go through the verification process. So it's like you're creating some extra, you're like doubling the urgency essentially of like,
I really like this because it's like a down payment. So it's like you're putting a down payment on the full price. And if you
uh-huh,
get it for the scholarship, you don't need to pay anything more. Don't
yeah,
get accepted, then you can either pay the rest,
uh-huh.
or if you decide it's not a good fit, then you'll get a refund.
Oh, you know what would make this so dope is if you get them to tell their sob story. It's like tell us like in the application forms, like tell us about your business, tell us who you help, like all the qualification questions, but then like why do you feel like you qualify for this scholarship? Like how would getting in at this price like help you at where your business is at? And then it's like you can get them to like gush there like, well, my kid is sick and I'm just like I've been trying to make this thing work and I'm paying for putting my kids through school or whatever, blah 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 blah. Like you get them to articulate it's like why this is so valuable to me, like why I really need in this program. And so it's like
Yeah.
for that, it's for them as much as for you, but like then you also get them kind of documenting, it's like this is why it's important to me, but you're also there. I feel like my brain is still not up to 100%, but like I see a lot of value in
I
getting
think
them
you're
to
right.
say in
Like,
their own words why.
and it's not just about their own words, but you're asking them like, tell me why you deserve to get this scholarship.
Right.
They're selling themselves
Mhm.
on why they want it.
Oh, that's another, it's like if you can see their selling skills. It's like if they're talking about like all of their problems versus like here's how all the ways that I would be a good student and how what I've learned about marketing and the way that they talk about themselves. It's like you can also pinpoint, it's like, oh, that's a student I want in the program. And then you can kind of like, you may give everybody the scholarship, but you can at least like highlight, all right, we're gonna spend more time with this person, more time with this person and this person, because they look like they could be like star students, like key testimonials, and like, so like we want to give them every shot to succeed if we can.
Okay, I really like this idea and I think we should try it out. I'm just wondering, because like we're so close to being done. It's like if we decide to do this format, we have to redo a bunch of stuff. So I think like we should probably just launch like this with with the people who already showed interest
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of like practice the webinar. And then while we're doing that, if we decide, all right, let's go all in with the scholarship thing and be like, you can pre-purchase or like, you put a down payment for the
Mm-hmm.
course and that qualifies you for the scholarship. And
Mm-hmm.
then or like, that not qualifies you, but
Uh-huh.
anyway, enters you. That's your application for the scholarship.
Yeah.
And then if you get the scholarship, you don't need to pay anything more. If you don't get it, then you decide, do you want to pay the remainder of
Uh-huh.
the full price or do you want to get a refund? And it's like, all I can do is literally just copy the funnel and
Mm-hmm.
just like replace the things that make sense. That way we have
Mm-hmm.
two versions of the funnel and we can see whichever one works best. But it's like, we're
Yeah.
so close to the end. I don't think it makes sense to like redo everything now. But I think this would work really well.
Yeah.
So we have like everything that we need, but I think if we tweak this, it's like we just need to tweak the webinar, focus in really on selling the identity of like you're a person who likes to like who makes business fun and easy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we use this whole like pre-buying into the scholarship.
Okay, let me re-articulate what you just said. Um, the identity of the person is somebody who knows what it's like to have for things to be fun and easy. So maybe there's another aspect of their life that is fun and easy for them, but for whatever reason, business has not felt that way for them. And maybe you're just now crystallizing for them at this moment, realizing like, oh, I do want my business to reflect this other aspect of my life and the person that I am in over here. I do want that. Or it'll be like, I've tried to do that. I don't know how. I haven't figured it out. Like I've tried to bring that aspect of like not caring and like just trying lots of different things, and for whatever reason they are doing lots of stuff in their business, or they're overwhelmed, or they just feel like they're behind, they haven't gotten as far ahead as they would like to. So I think in some sense it's like, I don't know. What is it that I'm trying to say? Yeah, I think you're right. The identity of somebody who makes things fun and easy. But maybe your business right now doesn't reflect that part of you, and you want to fix that.
It's like, even if it is, what we're selling is still like an easy way to get clients. So even if they already are that person, that doesn't mean they don't want the course.
I feel like I could be wrong, but I feel like this whole thing is Okay, I was thinking about this weekend, and I couldn't get this out of my head. I don't know why. I feel like I've had this hunch that, like, in order for this launch to be like really attractive, we need to bring the price down. And maybe what we're talking about with like the pre-launch price at $1,000 is the price that they pay. You could potentially get like a scholarship to do it for 300, and then we vet them. I don't know. It's sort of like maybe that could be part of the giveaway, is like get a chance to like get the course for $300 or something. Maybe we could do like a contest or something. I don't know. For some reason, maybe it's the thing I articulated earlier. It's like I feel like there's a certain aspect of like heart-centered entrepreneurs or coaches that it's like they haven't really fully broken away from their old relationship to money and how work and results all combine, and so they're still wanting things to come in the way that they feel like it should, as opposed to the way that successful business people do things. It's like the market is king. I give people what they want, not what I want. I don't care whether you want this or not. It's like, I'm going to put my offer out, and if you want it, great. If you don't, great. And this is what it costs. It's sort of like you have to learn the skill set and the process of how things are valued. And I'm like, I wonder if the crowd that we have access to at this moment will value it the way that we value. I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to solve a theoretical problem that we don't know exists yet. Like, I think I know what I think I see what I'm doing is like, I'm afraid to launch this at $1,000 or more. So I'm trying to avoid rejection. And what we need to do is we need to test and find out, does the market want this at $1,000 or more? And if it doesn't, then we can run a promo to just get people in. It's like we'll lower the bar to entry and find out if the price is the thing or if it's the messaging that's the issue. But once we have people in based on the idea, then it's just a matter of like finding like, where does the cold traffic price point need to be until we get testimonials of people who've completed the program and shown results like, oh, this is what it's actually worth because my business got X dollar amount in X amount of time. Then when you have data to quantify it, you can actually demonstrate the value of the program. Because we don't have that data, it's hard to have a concrete number. Okay, now I'm starting to understand what my resistance to this whole process is. Like, we're selling a theoretical thing. So it's like, we're putting a theoretical price on it. And so it's like somebody just has to like trust you implicitly to buy into it. So what we're doing is we're throwing it off the cliff and be like, all right, where's it gonna land or stick? Or it's like, who's gonna jump with us kind of thing. But it's like, that's not something to be scared of, or like pull your punches when you're, it's like, well, let me go up to the edge of the cliff and I'll like sit down and then I'll just like slide myself off. It's like still the same thing. Just like, why not just run and jump off like way sooner? Be the first guy to go like spectacularly swan dive into the thing. It's like, have confidence and a whole bunch of other people will follow. So, okay, I just needed to kind of like talk myself out through that that wormhole. All right.
So
Let's
basically,
charge
you're
a
like, I want
bazillion dollars.
but I don't want to be the only person to jump off the bridge.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's so funny because I've seen you go through that process a couple times of like, oh, well, maybe we should like start like lower price and then work our way up. And I'm like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, it's like a fear thing. It's a it's a mental trick to like sort of delegate the lack of confidence in myself to somebody else. That's what it is. So I'm trying to accommodate somebody else's unbelief in me so that I can kind of like borrow that belief and be like, oh, look, somebody believes in me. It's like, I need to do it first in order for them to mirror it.
I guess because I do the exact same, well, I did the exact same thing when I was like, doing different businesses, but I guess now it's different because like we're in the business together, but it's more like your course. So I kind of have that detachment of like,
yeah,
this is super valuable. Why are you trying to undersell it?
Yeah. And I feel like this is the thing. It's like that particular, the value of it is sort of like, it's sort of like seeing like a spot behind your ear in the mirror. It's like you can't ever really actually see that yourself. You have to like get another mirror, get somebody else to like say, hey, you have something back here, like to rub. Like it's one of those things like every time you don't have like that written down or like have walked through that process so you actually understand it, like you're gonna come back, circle back around to that. It's like, I have this blind spot. Why can I not see around this corner? And like, yeah, so hearing you say that, it's like, this is your thing, this is your expertise, and like I'm seeing that's like you keep stepping away from this value. It's like I see that it's valuable and you keep undervaluing it. Like I need to hear that feedback from you, from other people in the market, and just be like, okay, so I just need to like assume that it's valuable and put it out there and actually get real data to validate whether it is or not, instead of me feeling like, well, I can't see what the value is, so it's probably not worth anything.
And I
It's
think
like,
it just comes down to that principle of when you're good at something, to you, it's like, that's not valuable. It's so easy.
yeah. So, I mean, I can pee standing up, and like 50% of the world. So how do I monetize that?
Someone actually did. I forget the name, but there's like a thing for like when you're, I think when you're like out camping and stuff like that, it was like basically a funnel that, women use to pee standing up. I gotta know the exact details. I never did a research. I just know it's a thing that exists. So
Every business needs a funnel, even your personal business.
It's a sales funnel, sales pee funnel. All right, I'm gonna do an errand move. I need to go pee. I'll pay back. I was just thinking like, what could I do? Like, what joke could I make when I come back? And I was thinking like, guess who's back? Not my pee. I felt good. All right, let me just go make a note in the Word document just to be like, hey, this is something we want to implement down the line. And I'm just thinking like with the upsells, how that would work.
Mhm.
Because I'm wondering, like, should we try to incorporate the whole business best friends into this? Because what if we're like, hey, this is a $3,000 program, you're getting it for half price, so 1,500. However, if you get someone to take it with you, you both only pay $1,000. So it's like we're working in that business best friends and making it valuable for them to take the time to find someone because they both get a discount.
I don't know.
I'm probably overthinking things.
Yeah, I feel like right now it's sort of like, what is the bare minimum that we need to do to just launch the webinar? Because I think that's the first thing we need to do. It's like get some feedback from people who've seen it and who are somewhat interested in the idea. Like, what did you think? Are we crazy out of our minds what we're charging? Is this like actually a good solution? Like, I've gotten some feedback from people in, because Brian is teaching essentially like an offer creation course inside his private mastermind. And so everybody's like kind of posting their offers who are like going through the material. So I've done about half of it and I've posted all of our stuff for this. And several people are be like, hey, I think this sounds like a winner. Like people are saying feedback based on what I've been posting. And they're like saying that they're sort of interested in seeing it come together. So I think we just need to get it out in a completed form to put it in front of people and start asking people, hey, what could we do to make this better? What could we do to make this more valuable? What could we do to make it more clear? And just keep doing that process. Like, okay, let's redo it with the feedback. Let's see what people say. Redo it with the feedback, see what people say. And, you know, see how many buyers every time we put it out there. Because honestly, like once we get out of this build launch stage where it's like we have the stuff and all we're doing is just tweaking based on feedback, because we've got the funnel, we almost have the webinar built, we just need to do it once or twice, and I mean, or once. And then it's just a matter of like just every single week schedule 1 or 2 places to do it live in front of people. It's like go into groups, promo it, and then if once I have like after a month or so, once I have my content sequence written out, actually I have a content sequence written out. It's not exactly for this, but I could probably tweak it for this. I mean, we can drive people to the scheduled webinar, but I really want to just, go into people's groups, be like, hey, would doing a training on like minimizing overwhelm, can I pitch my thing in front of your people and see what happens? Because I feel
Sorry,
like if
down as you're talking, and I have an idea.
Go
So
ahead.
this is pretty much the way I've structured it, so I remember it later on. So it's like we lean into the whole scholarship idea. So it's like it's a $2,997 course, but you can apply for the scholarship by making a down payment of $997. If you
Uh-huh.
qualify for the scholarship, you don't have to pay anything more. If you don't qualify, you can either pay the remainder of the cost or ask for a refund. However, if you don't qualify, we can also offer a business best friends partnership price, which means if you find someone to partner with you and do the course with you and keep each other accountable, you get to split the price of the cost between the two of you. So you both pay $1,500 each.
Mm,
Like it's not that much more than the scholarship. It's only 1,500 instead of 1,000.
yeah.
And it bakes in the whole accountability thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Anyway, just a thought. So
I
we're not at that.
I like
kind of-
that. Okay, what if we the upsell was instead of having to find someone, it's like you have the options like within the first week or so, go find somebody that you want to do this with. And if you don't have a preferred partner, we'll actually partner you with somebody. So you're actually gonna like do this course in tandem with that person. Like, so out of the students that are enrolled, like we'll pair you with somebody. So if you take the business best friends like upgrade, it's like the ideal is for you to have a partner that you want to do this with and that this is good for. But if you don't have that, we'll actually partner you with somebody, which means you still get the discount and you don't have to go through the work of like if you don't have somebody that you already know of in mind that's like, I really want to do this, let me check and see if they would be willing to do this with me. Because I mean, I think somebody's going to either know who that person is or not. It's not going to be like, well, let me go down my list and call 20 people and see if they want to. Like, very few people are going to go have that kind of tenacity and like just to like save some money on that thing.
I mean, yes, but I'm just thinking because if we do that, not everyone's going to do it, but every person who does is recruiting a client for us. It's not just about the money. It's about like getting them to find someone else. It's like they get half price and we get a second
Right.
client. It's like, yeah, of course, like it seems good to be able to partner them up if they don't have someone, but it's like if we offer, it's like, hey, you can also like there's the business best friend partnership option, which you find someone else, then you can split the cost of course between the two of you. But then if we're like, if you don't know anyone, we'll partner you with someone else. It's like, well, why would I go through the trouble of trying to find someone when you're just going to give someone to me?
Yeah, that makes okay. I gotcha. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that detail.
Yeah. So like I understand what you mean. It makes sense, but it kind of like kills the whole idea behind this.
Yeah. Okay, so what do we actually need to do in terms of
well, in order to launch, we need to finish the PowerPoint.
Yeah, so what still needs to be done for the PowerPoint?
We need to insert the stories. and the testimonials. That's pretty much the gist of it.
Oh, I'd forgotten about the testimonials. What is the
Well, I think once we plug in the stories, then we can be like, hey, what testimonial would fit with this
Right.
story? And then
Got
we just kind of go in and plug it in. You can like, we can have the testimonial and then you can kind of like share the story of that person of like, hey, here's where they were, here's how I helped them, here's the result they got. And
yeah.
that kind of illustrates that the principle you just taught works, not just for you, but for other people.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to go in and try to fill this out now?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let me just get ready to put it up. All right, so PowerPoint. Oh, by the way, did you look at the thumbnails for the videos?
I didn't, but I heard you said they were made it look a lot more fancy.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's on the mobile version, because the player is slightly different, the play button and the play bar is bigger, it kind of like messes with it a bit. But if I change things on the mobile version, it's not going to fit on the desktop version. I can try to do like an in-between, but then it's not going to be perfect on either one.
Wow.
I'm wondering, like, do we just want it the best on PC, because that's where most people will be? And like, even if the mobile version isn't perfect, like you can still read what it says, so it's not that big a deal. Anyway, PowerPoint there. All right, let me know when you're ready.
All right, let's see here. What am I trying to do here? Just order.
I sent you the links for the two, so it should be relatively easy to find.
Oh, cool.
And it took forever to make those, because I'm just like, oh, well, it has to fit. And it's like, I do it. I'm like, nope, that's crap. I do it a different note. That's crap.
Ooh. On a 12x your odds of success. Yeah, that thumbnail, I think, makes me interested to at least press play.
Yeah, and if I have time, I might go in and try to do like a version of that for every video. But for now, it's just the two, those are important.
You want to get paid to take this course. That's a pretty good hook.
Yeah. Just if we're able to like grab their attention with the headline, and then the thumbnail is like, hey, watch this. And
Yeah.
then their explanation, all they have to do is like click.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're really right about this.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out like the teaching framework that I want to use for all the tasks that I'm going to record videos on, because I want to use the same sort of selling methodology. I don't want to stop selling them once we get them into the course, because getting people to take action is a lot of work, and it's part of why they pay you, because they can't take action on their own. So I want to make sure that I'm generating curiosity with like, what is today's assignment? And I'm walking them through the process and keeping them interested enough to watch it so that they see, oh, this is easy, I can do this, and then generate the desire at the end of the video and be like, okay, can you replay this video, just pause it as you're and do the steps with me. So, and like just sell them through the whole teaching process of the course. So it's like you're making it desirable for them to continue engaging and participate. It's like tying it to that identity of what they want. It's like, if you do this, you'll be done for the day. You will have moved your business forward another 50 meters down the road or whatever.
Yeah, I think Brett, if you kind of foreshadow every day, so it's like, all right, this is what we're doing today. Let's go through step by step. And then it's like, this is what we're going to do tomorrow. So make sure that you don't miss it.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially if I can figure out how to like write a good hook for the outcome of what the task is doing. So it's like, okay, now you've created your Facebook group. Now, if you want to get millions of people into it, I'm going to show you the process that you can use to do that. So it's like, okay, well, you're inviting like 10, 20, 30, 40 people a day, but that's how you can get it to millions of people. It's like you start inviting, you create that influx of people so that that's what your business is used to, but then you teach your members how to do the same inviting process. When Facebook sees that everybody in the community is inviting, it will model and do what that's doing as well. It's like that's how you get to millions of followers. But like, you promise them the outcome that they really want, and then you show them the mechanism. And so it's like, you need to be ready to show up tomorrow for the thing that I'm going to teach. So you're like,
I think it's like the structure every day could be like, this is what we're going to do. This is the benefit you're going to get when you do it. Let's go through it. This is benefit you're going to get tomorrow. So it's not like, hey, tomorrow we're going to invite 30 people. It's like, tomorrow we're going to begin the process of starting to attract your audience or whatever like that sexy hook is. So it's like, you don't sell the mechanism, you sell the benefit of the next day's training.
Yeah. Okay. So if we think about this from a storytelling perspective, what's actually happening is like the hero sees this next part of the journey. So it's like, oh, okay, well, I found out that I need to go to this destination. So they know their next objective. So they start going and then they hit an obstacle. So it's like a guy, kidnaps him and takes him to his cave or whatever, or like a monster is blocking the road. It's like the coming back tomorrow and then watching the video and doing the task is the obstacle. So how do you make it super clear that, okay, you need to do this next task, which is going to give you this outcome, which in the bigger scheme of things means that you're that much closer to slaying the dragon and rescuing the princess. So like, remember that coming back again tomorrow, it's like you're on your way to slaying that dragon just by showing up.
I just realized something. Arrested Development did this exact thing. The start of most episodes was, here's a brief overview of last episode. At the end of this, at the episode, here's a brief overview of next episode.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, like Arrested Development was like, the next time on Arrested Development, it's like it was just whatever funny thing that they thought of that had
Yeah, and it
anything
wasn't even in the episode.
remotely to do with the
Yeah.
next step. It's like sometimes they didn't even. It's just this is purely just to get you to come back. It's like I want to
Yeah,
see
or-
that, and sometimes it didn't even show up, and you're like, I don't even care. This was hilarious.
The thing about that show, like, it's not funny, but it's entertaining.
Yeah,
It's like I look at that show and objectively, I'm like, I should hate this show. It's not funny. I almost never laugh while I'm watching it, but it's entertaining for some reason.
I think it's. I mean, I liked it a lot. It's sort of like a weird satire of reality television in a way that like The Office was not a satire of the genre. It used the genre to create a sitcom, but like Arrested Development was sort of like making fun of that way of showing things, but also kind of showing us the worst possible version of like what sort of like modern life is like. It's like, here's what it looks like when you become successful and some of the failures of this model. Hmm.
All right. Sorry, I was just looking at the document saying what do we have left to do? But it's mostly just the PowerPoint at this point.
Should we just,
All right, so the story that we need to create, the first one, the origin story, is the crap, we're idiots.
my wife told me a story last night. I was like, what the hell? I don't even remember that happening. But she said that I'm not sure if I should share this. I won't go into a lot of detail, but she said that like the one time I like turned down sex, and it was like it was like at some time when she was like, she said she like looked and smelled nice, and she was like, you know, all dressed up and stuff, and she said like you were crying and saying you were so upset and tired and you just wanted to go to bed that you didn't even notice me. Yeah. And I was like, she said I had written some sort of letter, or maybe it was like a video or something, that she said she told me not to send. And I was just like overwhelmed with like I'd been doing all of this stuff in my business and nothing was happening. But I was like, that sounds like a really great story. I wish I knew where that thing was that I had written or recorded or something. Because I kind of like, to me, that's like a great, like emotional moment of like, I turned down having sex with my wife because I was so overwhelmed and depressed about not making any progress in my business that I was like crying myself to sleep. um
Yeah,
and
that is pretty powerful.
like she said she felt like it was the only time when her seduction didn't have any effect on me because I was just so in my own little world of depression. But I'm like, if I could tell that story, I just need to find enough of that. Well, maybe I don't. Maybe it doesn't need the details. Maybe just that little snippet is like, if that is like a microscopic, like if you relate to that at all, like maybe this presentation is for you. Like,
Okay, I'm just trying to think like where would that fit in the presentation, but I guess that could be like the hook to get people to attend the presentation.
yeah, the webinar. It's like that was, that was me when I was, when I was overwhelmed and trying to become a business owner. Now I have a business partner. I have sold $15,000 copies of a book in one of my businesses. with very like all organic marketing. We haven't spent $1 on ads. We've done very little hustle to do that. Our community has done that mostly through word of mouth and by multiple product sales, and you've reached millions of people with your books and stories. Like we've realized that we're actually very successful without having to do the same hustle culture that other people say is required to do it. And so we put our heads together and said, how can we help give one alternative to the overwhelm of becoming an entrepreneur? And I think the answer, you need to see this presentation if you feel like you're overwhelmed and you like things to be easy, you like them to be fun. Maybe you have some other area of your life that is that way and your business is not, and you want to fix that. We have a plan. We have a solution that can make your business really easy to run in 5 minutes a day. You can do it without any overwhelm because we show you exactly what to do, and you can see exactly how this program works and see how we show you how to do that. So if that's something you want, you should watch our webinar. I mean, I feel like that hook, that story should be interesting enough to get people to, I mean, if that's the feeling where people are at, I feel like that could easily be like a 3-minute or 5-minute, hey, if you landed on this page, this is what the presentation's about. If you want this, if you want to answer this question, is like, how can I run my business with more fun and let no overwhelm? You need to see this presentation.
Remember the 5-minute webinar?
Yeah.
What if we use the 5-minute webinar to sell the full-length webinar?
We should.
And we use a full-length webinar to sell the course.
That's what we should do. It's like, just use the same, it's like the same selling principles of like, all right, if you have this problem, if you are this kind of person, if you want to be this kind of person and you feel this way, it's like, here's what you need to understand. The way you understand that is by tuning into this presentation. It's going to take 40 minutes or so, and you're going to see our way of solving this problem. And if that's what you want, you need to click here to book your spot. I feel like that would be a really clear, they need to, I mean, you open that loop for them, and then it's like you need to be there. And
yeah, if it's like we use that same format, it's like people who it works for already told us this format works for us.
Yeah.
They're going to be way more responsive to the webinar than if it was just some random normal post.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So should we build out the story?
Yes.
All right. So let's do this. Ah, crap. We're idiots. I'm just wondering if I should have a slide to introduce this. Because the format is who are we? It's like you, me, and we're Business Best Friends. And then I introduce you and all the selling points, you introduce me all the selling points. And then I feel we need a transition slide of and together we're Business Best Friends. So let us tell you the story of how that happened. And then the next slide is oh crap, we're idiots. And we can just have bullet points as we're talking of hey, this is we can alternate. It's you say one thing of one of oh crap, I'm an idiot moment. It's I can have one, and then we can kind of have one together or whatever. It's just that evolution. I don't know exactly what the proper structure is, but yeah, I think having an introduction slide would make things easier. So what should we talk about in this?
What should we talk about?
Yeah, because the whole concept is just selling the, hold on, what's the big domino again?
So is this for the main presentation or the
Or
final?
the origin story, like the
Oh.
story start of the webinar?
So the story at the start of the webinar is,
Like it's supposed to introduce us and show like the origin story of how we got to the points, like why are we creating this? Why, like, how
yeah,
did we become this?
yeah. So the story that I think I realized would be a much better fit was me on staff at Sandals Church. And we don't have to necessarily give the name of the organization, but like I was working managing an audience of almost 30,000 viewers on YouTube. I was pushing out content to multiple online platforms, and I was doing the job of like 3 people. And I was having my second kid. So I needed to be able to take time off, and nobody else, was trained to do my position. So I started a Facebook group and documented all the things that I did in my job in about 5 minutes a day. Like I made a system that showed everything that I knew how to do. And some of the stuff that I did was like unique to me. I took over a process that was taking 3 other people to do. I made it so I could do all of it by using like software. Like I set up some systems and spreadsheets and things so I could track multiple things. So like I was doing what it took 3 other people to do when I was brought onto the team. And so in order for me to show somebody else how that worked, I created a Facebook group to teach that. And then I took time off. I took like 2 weeks or a month off. I forget how much time I took off, but like I didn't have to go back into work or like walk people through stuff over the phone, because I had a process that allowed me to completely disengage, that allowed me to replicate myself and what I knew. And that's what your business should be. Something that's like you. I feel like I'm not making it. I feel like I need to make it more story structured, more emotional, and like hero's journey-ish. So
How about
what's the Epiphany Bridge framework of? So I had this problem, and then I tried this thing, and it didn't work. And then I had this thing came in, and so like then I modeled that and it worked, and then I was like, oh, I need to try it again, and it worked every time. And so now this is the system that I use, and I'm happy to show you how it works if you go to the next step with me, which is like the next part of the presentation. So the big domino I'm trying to knock down is like a 5-minute Facebook group will solve your business overwhelm.
All right, the Epiphany Bridge script. So you start with the backstory.
Mhm.
What is the backstory? What is the desire, external and internal? What is the old vehicle? Then the journey. So what is the call? What is the villain? What if you fail? New
Mhm.
opportunity. Who is the guide? What was the epiphany and what is the new opportunity?
Yeah.
Framework. So what is the strategy? What were your results? What were other people's results? Then the achievement, external. What did you accomplish? Achievement, internal. How did you transform?
Okay. So I think Okay, let me think. I think in order for this to be great sales, I need to back up even more. And maybe what I'm actually saying is, in order for me to just tell this the way that I would tell it, I just need to back up more. But I think what I'll actually do is I'll start with, my job has been taking really complex processes and shrinking it down so normal people can do them. I am somebody who does a lot of really technical and difficult I don't know, processes, or like my job requires a lot of like stuff that most people can't do. So when I was hired at a world-class organization, my job was to establish a brand new team and teach them how to be self-sufficient, which I had done multiple times before in the past in my career. So I get to this place, and for the first few months, it was pretty much me. Like, I had a little bit of help getting started, and then like all of the existing team that was there, all of the support staff that was helping me kind of get up to speed in the job, was sort of like, all right, here's exactly what to do, but then you're on your own. So I basically was running all of the stuff that it would take a team to do by myself. I was running I was running 3 positions, like audio tech, lighting tech, and on-screen visuals. Like there would be weeks where I would do all 3 of those things myself, in addition to having to like prep the stage before the service and then clean everything up afterwards. It's like I didn't have a stage manager, I didn't have a director, I didn't have runners, and I have volunteers, that sort of thing. So it's like I was doing everything. And this is not a small church. This was a like our largest campus of a multi-campus mega church, one of the fastest growing churches in North America. This is a huge place. So I was doing a lot that it would typically take a team to do. I got to the place where I was like, I cannot keep doing this. Number one, this is not my job. My job is to establish a team so that other people are doing this, give people a chance to participate and help put on the service. So I started recruiting some people. And what I found is that I have a great way of recruiting people. Not everybody does. This isn't about recruiting volunteers, so I'm not going to go into that. But like I recruited some team members, and I got them up to the place where, and it took a couple of months. It took a couple of months for me to recruit and train and establish a team that was self-sufficient. But after, I don't know, 9 months, almost a year or so of me having started that job, I had a team that allowed me to, let me see. I was hired December 2017. So it was 2 years. It took me 2 years to build a team up to where I had team leaders that could handle the whole week of like rehearsal, and then day of setup and tear down and running the service without me. I didn't have to be on site at all. They could do all of it. Every single thing that I did, I had delegated off. So it took me about 2 years to replicate myself, distributed across a team of volunteers. So that's what it looked like for me to teach other people how to do everything that I knew how to do, how to do my job. Like I can do it all myself. It's hard work, but it's not difficult. When you know how to do it, it's actually something that one person can do. It's not something that one person wants to do all the time, but it's possible. And it's actually a lot more rewarding for a team to all be part of it. They just play a little role. They get to do one little thing that they own. It's a lot more fun. So fast forward, I was able to take my wife and my family on a vacation to Hawaii for more than 2 weeks. I paid for the vacation. I paid to bring my family. I paid to bring my sister. And I didn't get a single call that anything went wrong while I was gone. My team handled every single thing. And like once I had that team established, like there were often weeks that I was there at church on site, but I was like at the coffee shop doing stuff on my computer or just hanging out, talking to people. I have a picture of like I got to meet Santa Claus when somebody came, we had a Santa Claus come and visit our campus around the holiday time. It was like I was free to like go out and socialize with people because I wasn't tied to doing the execution of the job. My job was actually like making sure that it happened and getting other people to do it. So my expertise is in teaching stuff and shrinking complex technical things down so that anybody can do them. And that process usually takes me months or years to get people to know how to do things, how to get all of that stuff delegated out. And it's just a matter of like volunteers have lower commitment, like they don't have the amount of time to do stuff. There's just not as much urgency. So fast forward a year or so from having that vacation, and I had my second child was going to be born. So here I have a different situation. I had been promoted at my job, so I was no longer running what used to be their largest campus, a satellite campus from the church. I had been pulled up to their main organizational network. So now I was in charge of like all of their online content distribution across their multiple channels online. So I was managing Facebook, YouTube. We were experimenting with streaming to Twitch, and they launched a TikTok account while I was there that reached like 1 million new viewers and got like 20,000 new subscribers. Like this organization was doing some cool stuff. So I had been brought onto this team to handle all of their online distribution. And they had about 3 people that were running the services every weekend. I shrunk that role down to something that one person could do. I used some automation stuff, learned how to use the technology. I built some processes and systems, checklists and things to help myself remember all the details and be able to handle all of the stuff. So at some point I was doing everything that was taking 3 people to handle. And just because of like my process of breaking things down and making it simple for myself. So I'm not worried about having to remember how to do it. I'm not stressing about the mechanics of it. I want it to be fun. I don't want to have to be super mentally checked in all the time. I just want to like just do the steps. And so I had gotten this down to a routine where I was able to handle it, but then my second baby is going to be born. I was like, I'm going to need to take time off. So I'm there with my wife when she has this baby, because then we still have a toddler that is going to have to be watched. My wife's going to want people, food, and I'm going to want to cook for her, that kind of stuff. So I was like, I don't have months or years to train volunteers to do this. I had been pushing to get a volunteer team recruited and trained in, but I'd only been on that team, on that staff for I forget, but it was probably like 6 months, 8 months or so that I'd been on that team, and I just hadn't had at that level in the organization. It was like higher level of responsibility, more stuff was just constantly like pushed out, and it was just a faster pace of stuff. And it wasn't, anyway, long story short, I had to get people up to speed on how I had shifted the role, what I was doing and how to do it. So in order to solve that problem, like I created a Facebook group. Facebook group took me like 5 minutes to set up, and I started recording training on how to do what I was doing. And I just did a little bit, like 5 minutes a day. And so I created a whole course on basically everything that I was doing in my job. It was all available on Facebook. It was an open group that I invited a couple of people on the staff to. We can even show pictures of that if we want to, but it's like I showed how I was doing everything in my job, and I documented everything that they needed to know. I had proprietary processes for editing, for finishing out content, for pushing it out to our multiple channels, things that were getting distributed on WordPress, all kinds of stuff. And all of that stuff I got documented, and just a little bit of extra, like I went out of my way to do this. I did this, nobody asked me to do this. I wanted to be able to take time off and not get called, not have to worry about it, and to have everything in front of people so that it was easy, so that was they knew what to do if they were me. And so I created that system in like I think it took me like a week to get that thing completely built out, to show everything that I was doing in my job that was like people were going to have to take over for me. And so when Zoe was born, I just sent out a text on Slack and said, hey, I'm gone. And then I didn't answer any messages after that for like 2.5, 3 weeks. And the team was fine. They handled it. They knew exactly what to do because I had given them all the information. I set that group up, and in 5 minutes, I started filling it out, and I had the bulk of what I needed there in a week. I had the bulk of what I needed in a day. But I just like kept polishing it, kept adding to it in a few minutes a day. I had the whole thing done in a week, and I showed people what it was, showed them how to use it. And then when I left, I was gone. And so I shrunk down what took, months in other various versions of my role at different jobs. It took almost a year to build up a team for the previous job that I had, and I wasn't managing quite the amount of like responsibility and eyeballs that we're seeing stuff at the campus level as when I moved up to the network level. So when I was doing that, I did in probably like less than a day's worth of work. It was like just a little bit here and there in addition to the responsibilities that I was doing. It was like 5 minutes a day, and I got it done in a week or so. I gave people what they needed to see, what they needed to know in order for me to be completely disconnected from the process. And it still worked. It still ran, worked without me. People were happy that, the outcomes were handled, stuff was getting done. And I was able to be there when my kid was born and not have to worry about, I was mentally fully present and there for my kid, my wife, my family. That was a big deal. But what I learned in that process was that even though I had documented all of the stuff that they needed to handle the role or the responsibilities, like the people that took over for me, it was still for them, like they didn't have any they didn't care about my job, honestly. Like they were just stepping in because I had to be gone. And so I gave them the information they needed to do the job, but like they weren't super excited about it. They were stressed out because it was being added to their plate of things to do. Like I don't know how exactly the responsibility and management was handled like kind of at levels above me. But like there was stress. There was like we had some long discussions after I got back of how could we have done this differently, because the way that I pushed out the information, which was great for me, wasn't as good an experience for them. And it was because they weren't in alignment with what was needing to be done. The way that the information was communicated out was like they didn't really have a lot of buy into the, I don't know, the experience or the process, I guess. And so just dumping somebody into the experience was, was okay. But what I think the piece that was missing was when I joined the mastermind with Guillaume, and this is how we met, is he started a similar Facebook group in about 5 minutes. He started a Facebook group after he did this challenge where he introduced himself to a bunch of people. I happened to be one of those people that he introduced himself to, and there was a handful of other people. And he started a Facebook group, took him just a couple minutes. He barely spent any time working on that Facebook group to communicate to people. But like we started getting connected, and out of that group, there was a small group of us that met every single day for about 6 weeks. And what we found is that spending that time together created a really tight, close-knit community. And what the group was doing, the close proximity and the investment in each other's lives, meant that we had a much clearer sense of where the overlap was in what was important to us. And we found that we had some really, really significant parts of our lives that were all happening at the same time, like similar experiences happening in all of our lives. So we had this meeting every day, like every weekday, for like 6 weeks. We were asking ourselves, like, what does it mean to have integrity? And as we were going through this experience, like we would all have similar experiences of like releasing different aspects of past experiences, like struggling with new things that were coming up in our lives. And there was like a lot of mirrored things happening as we were sharing what we were valuing, what we were learning, what we were understanding about our experience. And the process of us leveling up and the amount of commitment that we experienced through that process was unreal. It was a crazy transformative experience. And what I realized is that was missing from like just starting a Facebook group with information in it. Like everybody does that. That like the Facebook group itself is not quite unique enough for it to be a replacement for your business. But what I realized is that is such a efficient way of delivering information. But you couple that with real community, and you suddenly open this door to being a completely different kind of person. You step through this portal into another version of yourself that you had no idea was possible. And that is, I mean, I feel like I'm so different than the guy that met Guillaume. It's like been almost 2 years now. It's I don't know, we're coming up on later.
It was the end of 2020.
The end of 2020.
Yeah, because that's when the
So
master began. So I don't remember the exact date, but
was it November-ish? October, November?
let me check on my Google Calendar.
Anyway, that's wild. I didn't realize we were like I feel like this year has flown by in a sense.
All right, let's check. All right, friendiversary Aaron, December 1st.
Ah, December 1st. So we still have a few months to go, but it's been
I just realized something that I do something that I've never seen anyone ever do. And that could be a good thing maybe to include in community. It's like, I have this thing where it's like, for you, Jessica and Bobby, I've put the date as in my calendar as a recurring event every year. So every year I know like, hey, it's been a year or 2 years or 3 years, like since we first became friends, since we first met. What if there's a way to incorporate something like that in the community?
Mm,
So it's like instead of just celebrating people when they join, it's like celebrating when they join, but at the same time, like celebrating, like, hey, congratulations, it's been 1 year since you joined the group. And it's like taking the time to reach out and celebrate them individually.
yeah, I like that. I think that would be really cool. I think that'd be neat to figure out what's an easy way to teach that. Like if people are trying to build community, how can you, and maybe you just post that question to people, like how can you make remembering when people join your community or when they make important connections, like how can you memorialize those moments? Because there's something really, really special about looking back and saying, hey, this moment in time was significant. Just it adds that credibility, not credibility, but like significance and meaning to it.
Okay. I think that's something we can incorporate, but for now we're just getting off track. So if we focus on the story, as you were telling the story, I got to a point like early on where I'm like, this is not the right story, but there's a reason why he's telling it. So let's just let him talk.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to the point about the mastermind, and I think that might be the story we need to tell. Because that's when we really discover the power of community. Like we've always known it, but it's like that's the moment we realize like this really works.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what began the entire process.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole point of this is like we introduce you and me, and then we're like, hey, we're business best friend. This is how the story of how that happened. And then it's like, tell the story. And then after that, we want to present like, this is the hard way. So it's like, this is everything that I had to struggle with and do over the last,
Mm-hmm.
20 years. And then I do the same thing. And then we're like, hey, now like we spend most of our time doing like barely doing anything, having fun,
Mhm.
blah, blah, blah. So that's the point of the story, to share the fact that it's like we were struggling, then we discovered the power of community.
Mm-hmm.
It took like a year, like and a half from that point to get to where we are now and really understand and structure it in such a way that we can teach it. But I think that was really the moment, like that experience in the first few months of the mastermind.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we truly realize like, okay, this is the power of community. Even if it's a small community, it's like that is so much more
Yeah.
powerful, valuable to us than like a huge community.
Yeah.
So I think if we're able to tell that story, that's what would illustrate.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what the best structure is. It could be like, you share a story of like how you struggled. I share a story of how I struggled. And then we kind of like both, well, we all found ourselves in this like group. And I don't know, I forget how. Oh yeah, because I was doing the 40-day challenge.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's kind of how it came to be. I'm just wondering like which part of it we tell, but I think the story of the mastermind, that is what perfectly illustrates the power of community.
Yeah.
Because like, if you look at the four of us, who we were a year and a half ago, as opposed to who we are now, it's like Jessica
Yeah.
wasn't a coach back then. Now she's a full-time working coach.
Uh-huh.
Bobby, like, he's grown so much, and it's like he's like on the verge of launching something.
He's like the Obi-Wan of our group. He's like man. If there was like a wise guru master, it's like he's it for at least for our little group. And you know what I realized? Your articulation about like the mastermind is the hinge point of all of the stuff that I'm telling. It's like, so the like training teams and then using a Facebook group to share information. It's like those are things that I've tried, but it wasn't quite there. It's like this is one version, this was an upgrade, but it wasn't done until we add community. And community is what makes 5-minute Facebook groups special, because you're going to learn it in community, and we're teaching you how to model community. Go ahead.
I just realized something. If we share it this way of like, you know, the power of community, and then we explain like, you know, you're the community guy, yet I'm the one who created the mastermind. And that foreshadows what we're talking about later on, which is you don't need to build the audience. Someone else can do it for you. And it's like we're subconsciously foreshadowing that by you being the community guy, yet I started that community that changed everything. So it's like,
Yeah.
without realizing it, we're setting everything up.
All right. So what exactly is it that we're foreshadowing of like,
Well,
you
because
set up the,
you don't need to reach millions to be successful, which is illustrated by the fact that it was a small mastermind with limited people in it, which once again foreshadows, hey, we're only letting 12 people in this group.
oh, I gotcha. Yeah.
And then it's easier to succeed than to fail. So it's like when you have that community, we're sharing like in that story, it's like we got to the point where we're all doing the same things at the same time without really trying.
Yeah.
So it really got easier. Like, and we can even point that out of like if we structure it in that way, even if we never say it, once we get to this three secrets, they're going to be like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one is like how to get other people to build your audience for you.
Yeah.
It's like if you include those 3 elements without explicitly saying any of it, then when we get to the three secrets and it was like, this is the secret to our success, they're going to be like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. This is good. And that articulation about the community is what makes the difference, is how so the first secret, which is like, you don't need to be in front of millions of people to succeed, also lets me tell it from the standpoint of like, so when I was doing it by myself, I was in front of millions of people. I didn't know how to sell. I didn't know how to communicate value. So I blew that opportunity. I didn't get any benefit out of it, other than a funny story about my friends laughed at me for weeks after I was on TV because I looked like an idiot. But it's like what I learned later in my career is like, I had a great community that I was a part of, that we got on YouTube. We did a broadcast for several weeks out of Roy's home. And because we had a real community, and it wasn't a large community, there was like a couple dozen people in the Facebook, in the YouTube live chatting with each other throughout the broadcast every single week. Just a small amount of people having real engagement and interaction with people is what triggered the YouTube algorithm to say, oh, people are actually interested in this thing. So over the course of that summer, we reached probably like over 500,000 new people with the Bible Labs brand, because real community was happening. And so it's like, I stumbled into being in front of people because I had something useful to an audience at that moment in time, and I got on the news and I blew it. Whereas we had something that we were just doing because it was useful to our community, to a small group of people, and that's where we were focused. We weren't trying to be in front of millions of people, but because it was actually useful to that group of people, the machine that doesn't care about your thing at all it looks at is like, are people really engaging? Are people actually interacting? Are people, you can't trick the algorithm into helping you. It actually measures the data of like, do you have something that people are interested in? Are they liking? Are they commenting? Are they subscribing and sharing your content? And if you're actually getting engagement, then the algorithm wants you to win. And our group, like organically with no ad spend, no like no word of mouth promotion, no marketing materials, no nothing. It's like we just had the people who had been showing up in person. We transitioned to online, and YouTube's like, what the heck are these people doing? They're talking every week at this time slot, so I'm going to share this. And we got I can probably look up the numbers, but like I know I did the numbers that summer. It was like over 500,000 new impressions. And every video had thousands of views, like from the get-go. Talking about like Bible study. It's like that's a super yawn fest topic if you do it wrong. And so it's like for people that, you know, we're not on YouTube, we're not doing anything, and then for you to have like consistently get thousands of views on every single video. We didn't have thousands of people in our audience that were watching this. This was like 40 people at the max would tune in from our group, from our community. But then we would get thousands more views on every single video that were brand new, that had never heard of us. It's like, that's what happens when you build real community into your thing, is you make it valuable because you're actually bouncing it off of real people instead of it being a theoretical thing. And so like it contextualizes that. I mean, the numbers sound great. It's like, oh, we reached 500,000 people organically. That's possible, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? But it really boils down to the community is what triggered that.
I'm just thinking for this initial story. If we focus on the mastermind, it's just, let's say you begin. It's like you share a short, like brief story of, you know, your journey or whatever. It's like it ends with, and this like guy that like randomly met in a Facebook group invited me to a mastermind that he was creating. And that like introduced me, and then I pick up from there and I kind of like share the story like, hey, I was becoming a coach because that's what everyone told me had to be, even though I didn't really have any interest in that. And I was doing an online challenge and I was in the group and I decided to provide value to people. So I did a 40-day challenge and connected with a ton of people. And at some point I was talking to one of them and I mentioned how I had a mastermind with some of my friends for personal development. And she seemed interested in joining. Unfortunately, it was in French. So we're like, why not create one in English? So we did, and I invited a few people. One of them was Aaron. And we created a mastermind and we started meeting, and kind of like, then it segues into this story of like, this is the story of the mastermind. And we can talk about like Jessica and Bobby and how we're all evolving and growing at the same time. It's like, end with like, and that's like when we really understood the power of community, and like we're teaching all these principles. So it's like, you know, it's like you're a community expert, I'm the action taker, then combined together is the power of community. And we're selling like, you don't need to reach millions of people. You just need a like good quality small audience. Like that teaches that it's easier to succeed than it is to fail because we're moving together.
Yeah.
And like you don't have to do it yourself. That is also baked in because like you didn't create the group, even though you're the community guy. So it's like it sells all the elements.
All right, I'm trying to figure out if we're. I'm trying to figure out what kind of
Since we're doing the webinar together, I think it's best if we do that first story together, because it's really about us and then like about our business philosophy and community and connection and everything. And it's like, if we sell that in the first story, then it introduces us, and it's like it shows people like, hey, you're the community expert. That's why you're the one who's going to be teaching the course or the webinar. And it's like, I'm just like an action taker. So it's like, I'm just there for like support and to help because we're in business together. And it's like, it introduces both of us and the
Mhm.
business concept at the same time. So it's like, it kind of ties everything together.
Yeah.
Because that's the structure. It's kind of like we introduce ourselves. So it's like well, I introduce you with all your selling points. You introduce me with all your selling points. It's like, hey, this is like how we became business best friends. We tell the
Mhm.
story, like sharing sharing the journey, but at the same time, like all the selling points
Mhm.
we're covering. And then ends with like, hey, this is all I had to struggle with to get there.
Mhm.
I do the same. Then the easy way, it's like, now this is our life. It's like, how's that possible? Well, here are the 3 secrets that allowed that to be possible.
Mhm.
And it's like perfect segue into it. And then from that point on, it's like you're teaching everything. So it's like the next 3 stories are your stories that you share about, your journey and community and the clients that you've helped, because that's not my expertise. I'm not the one who's going to be teaching. So it's like the
Yeah.
focus is on you. And then at the end, it's like kind of like flips back to me.
Mhm.
And like by then, like they already remember me from the beginning. So I'm not just like some random dude that shows up at the end. It's like it makes sense, especially since we like establish me as the action taker in the beginning. It's like, hey, I'm here to get you to take action because you
Mhm.
can't move forward unless you take action. So let me just walk you through that process.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out. Okay, so secret 1 is you don't need to be in front of people to get your message to the right people. Secret number 2 is it's community that actually creates the outcome, not trying to create the outcome. Secret number 3 is you can get your community
To
like
build
if
it.
you're, yeah, you can actually get a community to build itself. So if you buy that community, like a 5-minute Facebook group that includes a community component, is a way that you can run your business without overwhelm. And we really don't know what that means until we've gone through the whole presentation. So we see it from like different aspects, different angles, which means like 5-minute Facebook group means you don't need to be in front of millions of people to get your message in front of the right people. It means that the community is how you're actually going to sell your program, not the marketing, not the hustle, not working more on your business. It's like the community is how you're going to accomplish making more sales. And the community can actually learn to grow itself, which means the bigger your community, the bigger your business, the more success, the more sales, the more clients you're going to have. So what we're doing is we're teaching people how we understand community, like deep, intimate, actual connection works. The way that we've experienced in Mastermind, the way that I've seen Roy build community, the way that I've built mini communities out of like my film school buddies and the teams that I've built, the mastermind that you created. So we're showing people that experience in our course, but how to build that into their business as a Facebook group that they can run and facilitate in 5 minutes a day. So the big idea is a 5-minute Facebook group will make running your business easier and more fun so that you are not overwhelmed with running your business. Because a 5-minute Facebook group has community at the foundation of how it works. Yeah, I think this presentation will work. Because I think what I've been trying to wrap my head around is like, we're not talking about results in terms of numbers and revenue generated, which is maybe an objection or issue, or it may not. And if we're using a storytelling approach, if we're just talking to the desire of the customer, which is primarily like stress relief, they may think that what they need is money. What we're trying to do is convince them that they need community.
What if we're overcomplicating things? What if all we need to do is like, hey, we'll sell you guaranteed stress relief from your business for $1,000, and they buy us like a 2-minute video of like, hey, just take a break from your business and go jack off. Like what? Well, we delivered on what we promised. Sorry, I just had to go there. But yeah, it's like, I love how as we're building this out, it's like we're filling the spots and everything's kind of like coming together and everything's making sense.
Yeah. So I feel like now that we have the stories, we have I think the first story was the biggest one that we were trying to get over the hump. Is like, we can give the context of who we are and what we've done from the lens of like, we've managed to have these outcomes and successes, but this is the hard way. It's like, don't do it the way that we've done it. And then we met and we had this community experience, and we're like, this is the piece that's been missing the whole time.
What if we kind of go with the whole like, ah, crap, we're idiots theme, and kind of incorporate like a parody of like Alcoholics Anonymous, like, hi, I'm Aaron, I'm an idiot, this is my idiot story. And you just tell like the story, and then it kind of like leads to me, and it's like, hi, I'm Guillaume, I'm an idiot, and I like share my own story, and then it's like we join the group and like do it together. It's like we discover the power of community.
Mm-hmm.
We're still idiots, so why not just become idiots together? And that's how we become business best friends. Or it's kind of like, it's like, you show like, hey, I'm an idiot, this is my idiot story. I do like, I'm an idiot, this is my idiot story. It's like, then we discover with the mastermind that we don't need to be idiots. It can be way easier. But the conclusion is, we kind of like being an idiot, like being idiots. So let's just stay idiots, but let's team up as idiots and have fun.
Mhm.
Well, it's like, let's use the power of community that we discovered, but let's still continue being idiots because we enjoy it. And I think that perfectly describes like the business best friend concept.
Yeah.
Oh, I just realized that just happened completely by mistake. But at the end, in the slide where it's like, hey, why are we doing this? And I begin with like, because we're idiots. Like when I wrote that, we didn't even think of like making like, oh crap, we're idiots, the story in the beginning. It just kind of happened that way. But now it's going to be a callback to the beginning. Man, I love this so much. Why did we create? Well, because we're idiots. Uh, it's like, who's this for? You know, a whole list, and it's like, and idiots.
So should we write some bio slides of like that we can introduce each other? Like, or do we already have enough? Like,
we already have that, but that's kind of like, you know, help, yeah, like for you, it's like help client grow their audience from 400 to 4 million, $200,000 plus launches, millions of viewers on YouTube, 15,000 communities, featured on NBC, CBS. It's like
Mhm.
the thing, same thing for me. So it's like we're selling our credentials.
Right.
And then in the story, it's kind of like, yeah, we did all those things, but we're still idiots.
Yeah.
And it's like, here's a
Yeah.
story of how I was an idiot. Here's a story of how you were an idiot.
Mhm.
Here's a story of how we met as idiots,
Mhm.
discovered something like really transformative,
Mhm.
and then decided, okay, we want to use that, but we still want to stay idiots because this is way more fun and it's who we are. So let's just combine the two, and that's what Business Best Friends is. It's like the power of community combined with our idiocy. And then that kind of like segues into like you sharing like these are all the like the hard ways. So it's like these are all the things I struggled with
Mhm.
most of my career. I do the same thing, and then it's like, and now it's like we just spend our work time just hanging out, having fun, doing stupid stuff, and
Mhm.
it's this is way more fun, way easier, and we're way more successful than we were before.
Yeah.
It like sells the whole principle, and it's like
Mhm.
even though we don't actually say it, we're kind of like promising this is what we're going to deliver. This is who we are.
Mhm.
If you like us, if you're this kind of person, you're going to enjoy this. And then that kind of like segues into, well, here are the 3 secrets where we literally come out and it's like, these are the 3 secrets to our success.
Mhm.
And then we teach that. And at the end, it's like,
Oops.
well, do you want to be able to do the same thing?
Mhm.
And then we sell the course as the answer to that.
Do you think we should talk about the fact that we like, or is that not really relevant in the sales presentations? Probably not super relevant. Maybe in like a podcast circuit, this might come up. The fact that we like value each other enough that we've like paid each other for like spending time together.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary in here.
Probably doesn't make a lot of sense in this context. I should probably go in and eat lunch.
So just quickly, what would be your story for this? If you can share a story of kind of like, hey, this is how I was an idiot, and your story ends with kind of like us meeting, and that like transitions to me. It's like I share my story of being an idiot of like, hey, I thought I needed to be a coach because that's what everyone told me, tried to, hated it, but I discovered like I created a community as a result of it without really trying. It just kind of happened. And that's how the mastermind was born. And then we share like the mastermind, like the story of that and how that was, that's how we really like internalized and understood the power of community.
Mhm.
And then we kind of like end with that twist joke of like, but we're still idiots, so we combine the two, and like that's how we became business best friends. So what would be the story that you could begin with? Because mine is just like, thought I needed to be a coach, did this challenge, realized I didn't need to be a coach. I just wanted to be part of a community, and that's the power of community.
Hmm, something that shows that I'm an idiot.
I mean, your life and my life, like that just
Yeah.
shows idiots, but I'm just like working out the structure in my head of like, your introduction, then you tell the story, my introduction, then I tell the story, then we tell the story of community. And it's like, and in conclusion, we're business best friends and we're idiots. And we say that at the same time, but because we're on Zoom, there's a delay. So we don't actually say it at the same time. And it's like, well, I guess that just proves we're idiots.
Oh my God. Have the perfect story that illustrates like what it's like to do things yourself and how you completely get screwed. So, I mean, this has nothing to do with business or anything, but this is how I describe myself as an idiot. It's like my wife and I have this inside joke about, oh no, I'm the second guy. I'll have to see if I can find a picture so we can put it in the presentation. But I bought a book, not a bookshelf. I bought a closet wardrobe system from IKEA for my wife because our apartment was like less than 600 square feet. It was like 585, I think, when I measured. It was tiny. So we had Sarah and me and Eden, and then we were having a baby. We just like were running out of space. I was working full time and I hadn't made any progress in my business. And I was trying to do everything myself in my business. And I was also trying to do everything at home. Like I didn't know how to outsource anything. Even though like I was learning about community and how to do stuff, but I bought this wardrobe system and I was like, I'm gonna put it together myself. I'm gonna install it. I'm gonna do so. I set it up in our living room which there was barely enough room to assemble it there. And then I was like, oh, okay, I'll just take it to the bedroom when it's ready. Well, I didn't fully read the instructions and the dimensions on it. And I didn't realize that the assembled dimensions of the wardrobe were going to be way too big to get around the corner into the bedroom. So I had a bookshelf that was too deep and too long to actually pivot and turn around the corner and get up. Like you couldn't turn it up and not hit the ceiling. It's like it was too big. So like if it was standing completely flat, it would just fit in there's like maybe 6 inches, 8 inches of space in between the ceiling. But if you tipped it, like it was big enough that it wouldn't clear the ceiling. And it shows a picture of in the IKEA manual. It has 2 little guys. It's like the one that does it the right way, he's like smiling, and it's got the cabinet, and then the one that didn't assemble it right, he's like it's a big frowny face and a big X on it. And I get this thing built out. I had actually glued it together because I want it, because it's, you know, IKEA stuff. It's like particle board. It's not super sturdy, so I wanted it to like sort of be more robust. And so I got it all put together and I got it in the hallway, and I realized that I can't get it in the room because there's not enough room to tip it and get it in there and tilt it up. So it was like, it was such a pain in the ass. I had to actually take it apart, take it into the room in pieces, and then reassemble it in the room. And it was annoying. But I realized like I was the second guy in the IKEA manual, the guy that was not happy because he didn't do it right, he didn't follow the instructions. And so I didn't realize that I thought I was being smart by like, I'm giving myself lots of space, I'm doing this all by myself, I'm putting it together for Sarah. She doesn't have to worry about it, she doesn't have to do a thing about it. And like I was in a hurry and I was trying to, you know, do it on my off time and like get it done instead of like working as a team and putting the pieces where it was going to go. I ended up having to redo all of that work because I hadn't done it before, and I didn't know what the experience was going to be like. I didn't know what my exact environment was like, and I hadn't built one of those things. And that's a little bit what it's like when you are building a business. If you're not used to building a business, and if you're not used to building a community, it can be a lot of work, and it can also be stuff that you end up having to do almost all of it all over again because you're not quite adjusted the right way that you need to be. And sometimes it's worth having that experience so that you know it and you understand it and you value it when you redo it. And other times it's like, I don't need to have that experience. I'll let somebody else tell me, you know what, you could save yourself a lot of headache if you just do it this way, because you don't need to go through all the stuff that I went through. And if that's you, like, we're trying to save people the headaches that we've gone through of not building things around a real community.
I'm just wondering how that would segue into this like mastermind story.
That's a good question. How would that segue into the mastermind story? Maybe that's not the story. Hmm.
like that is a really funny story, but it's like, does it tie into the rest? Because for me, it's not like a great story. It's literally just like I was an idiot because I didn't really want to be a coach. People told me I had to be a coach. I'm like, all right, let's try to be a coach. Like, not a great story, but it just like it leads into the mastermind and what we're actually trying to say. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a great story.
You know, I could share, you know, I used to hate exercise. And I'll just show you how stupid I was. Like I used to tell my wife, like, I don't sweat. Like I used to go to the gym and I would work out and like my body doesn't sweat. Because I didn't, number one, I never pushed myself that hard. I never really actually got my body where it
So
was actually getting any exercise.
your body doesn't what?
Sweat. Like water coming out of your body, like to
Doesn't
cool it off.
sweat. Ah, okay. Okay.
Like I went to the gym as a teenager and like, you know, I would lift the weights and do stuff and I thought I was exercising and I didn't like it and I didn't enjoy it and so I just never did it. And then I didn't like jogging because my dad used to wake me up at like 5 in the morning and take me jogging with him. And I hated it. So I just always assumed that I didn't like exercise. And then I met you and I was like, I was getting to the point where I realized because I had been diagnosed with ADHD that exercise was probably something I was going to need to change as a lifestyle thing to help manage my ADHD. And I didn't really want to do it, but I was like, well, I like talking to people that I like, and Guillaume and I have found that it was really easy for us to talk to each other for hours. So I said, why don't we just call each other and I can walk during our like calls. So we became friends on walks where I would call him on video call and I would just walk for like an hour or two. And that was really easy for me. And it just turned into like I did that long enough that I was like, well, I could probably like run down hills. And he would talk about running ultra marathons. And like, what is this weirdo do like just randomly running marathons? And so but it's like by being friends with him, it just rubbed off that like I kind of wanted to try the experience of running, even though like I had this assumption that I didn't really like exercise or enjoy it. But it's like I went slow enough that it was fun and it was easy to like kind of ease into the process by just doing a little bit every day of what I wanted to do, which was like I just wanted to hang out and talk with my friend. I just wanted to do something that didn't feel like work. It was easy. So I just started with walking because I enjoyed walks. And so I just did them long enough that it was like I was getting decent amount of exercise. And then that just kind of slowly turned into once in a while I'd do these little short sprints down hills. And then sometimes I'd be like, well, I'll sprint on a flat surface. And then I would just try to go uphill just for the heck of it, just to get it over with. And then it's like I once in a while I would actually go for like a mile jog. And it would be like half jog, half, you know, walk. And but now like I'll jog for like 3-4 miles when I'm going for a run, and I actually really enjoy it. I'll run the whole time, listen to music. I'm like, this is the one of the best parts of my day. I wouldn't be that way if I hadn't been friends with Guillaume. If we hadn't built this little 2-person relationship or community where we're just being ourselves. And it just so happens that he's the kind of person who's done lots of exercise and finds it's fun to have that kind of a personal challenge. for me to see it from his experience and realize that I was wrong and I was an idiot, I would not have tried seriously to incorporate exercise into my lifestyle. And it's one of the things that has helped me deal with my ADHD. So, but it was on one of those, it was on that kind of walking circuit as we were developing our friendship that the idea of a mastermind came up, of meeting with a couple of the other people that we knew that were also interested in leveling up their lives and kind of taking business more seriously, that we're like, we should do something all together. And so I guess that's how I would kind of get into the mastermind thing. Probably shrink that down some, but
I mean, you don't have to tell the whole story because you're just kind of like telling the story like, hey, I used to be an idiot, and then, you know, I discovered that. Let me see.
I discovered that I'm still an idiot, but in the community, people don't care.
I'm just wondering, like, what's the best way? Because like, we kind of like want to go back and forth. So it's like, if you share a story, then like the story ends with like you introducing me, and then I share a story. It's like the story ends with introducing the power of community, and that switches back to you, and you explain the story of the mastermind. And then that segues into I take over and conclude with, but we're still idiots, because as powerful as community is, we enjoy who we are. So we decided to kind of combine the two into what has become our friendship, and we now refer to it as business best friends. And it's kind of like back and forth. So it's like we're telling one story, but we're just kind of like jumping back and forth. If that makes sense.
I guess I'm not sure what you're trying to accomplish.
Tell the origin story. It's just like we're sharing the story of the mastermind and how like we discover the power of community. It kind of like teaches the 3 principles of like, you don't need a massive audience, because our mastermind was only 6 people that ended up being only 4 eventually. And wait, what's the other one? Whenever I'm trying to explain something, like my mind just goes blank. So it's like, yeah, it's easier to succeed than to fail, because we discover like as we're going through the mastermind and evolving, we're all evolving at the same time. So it's like we're evolving as a community. Because of that, it's become easier to succeed than it is to fail. And then it's like, well, that's more at the beginning. So the order is a little off, but it's more like in the beginning, you're the community guy, but you're actually not the one who created this community. So it shows like you don't necessarily need to be the one creating your community. You can just be the one who starts it. At least that's what I was going for. Maybe I'm wrong.
So what you're saying is I started the community, but it kind of ran itself. Like Aaron's the community guy and he contributed like being there and helping. But I mean, he didn't like craft a community experience. It just sort of organically happened. Or maybe that's what maybe what we do is like you say like it started the community, but like communities run themselves. Like real community is something that happens by itself. And so then it's like, you're the community guy, can you explain this? And so then, I can talk about how it's having a shared value that everybody kind of orbits, that's what the community is. It's everybody circling this one idea together that makes the community happen. It's not you facilitating connections and creating trainings and like having a place where people meet. That's not what community is. Those are things that are ways that community can exist, that they can be there, they don't have to be there. What a real community is like a super, super clearly defined value that everybody opts into. It's like, yes, I value that thing too. Well, if we all value that, we're part of a community. It's like your community can be as simple as like, I live in this neighborhood. This is my neighborhood. By virtue of everybody living there, it's like we all value that same thing. It's like, I live here, so I value this area. So I'm gonna do my part in keeping my yard clean. Maybe I'll pick up a piece of trash as I'm out on a walk in my neighborhood. It's like, I don't do that in other people's neighborhoods. Like that's their responsibility. But I do care about my space. And that's what your community is about. It's like, what's the thing that your people value? What is the thing that your business helps people with? And if you make that clear enough, that's what your community is around. That's what your community is about. You don't have to hustle to make community exist. It just happens. But you have to have you have to have that clear idea. And if you know what that message is, if you have a business that has a clear outcome and message, like you should be building a community. You should be inviting people to your values that you can build community around. So if the idea is
The whole point of this story is to sell how, like, to share how we discovered like what 5-minute Facebook groups are. And I think the mastermind in our friendship is exactly that. So it's like, if you had a story to illustrate like what normal community is, what people think of when they think of community. So it's kind of like your story is like, hey, I'm an idiot because I used to think community was a big group of people. But turns out that it's not. And I didn't even need to create this. I share like, hey, I used to think I need to be a coach. Turns out I was an idiot. I didn't need to. I just needed a community. And that segues into like, hey, the mastermind was like exactly what we're both looking for. It was like, it wasn't a huge community. It was a like small, tight-knit community. And it's like, it allowed us to evolve together. It made things easier, more fun. We connected. It's like we're selling everything, like all the values of a micro community, which is kind of one of the principles of 5-minute Facebook group. Like, it doesn't have to be that, but it's like we're sharing the principle of like, you don't need a massive audience to do this. It can be small. You don't need to do it yourself because it's going to grow itself. And I think like that story kind of shows that.
um we're trying to establish that community is important. Like that's the big domino. Right? Is that why we're trying to tell the mastermind story?
Honestly, I'm not 100% sure anymore what the big domino is. Like I can sense what it is, but I can't really explain it. Because what we're selling is like, I think like the community and the identity. It's kind of like two things, which unfortunately we can't do because we're not supposed to do that. It's only supposed to be one thing.
I mean, I think community is something that people already know is important and want. And I think that's an easier sell since it's something that it kind of already pre-exists for them. If we're opening the loop of like, if they think what they want is more leads, more sales, maybe getting their message in front of millions of people and being seen is the way that they think that they're going to get that. And we're saying, so, what if you could get in front of millions of people for free in 5 minutes a day? We're saying, okay, this is a potential possibility. Let me talk to you about this thing that does this, which is 5-minute Facebook groups is it's busted. I just realized that this coffee lid is torn. The 5-minute Facebook groups is how you get it's possible to create a Facebook group that gets millions of members, but that doesn't mean that you're making money.
I think maybe the big domino is like it's tied to their identity. Like the big domino is get them to realize and believe they're someone who can have a fun, easy business. And
Yeah.
5-minute groups is just the mechanism for that.
Okay, fun and easy.
Because that is really tied into everything we're doing with the group.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you don't need to reach millions to be successful. You can just have a small community. Oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
It's easier to fail than to succeed. Oh, okay, cool. So I don't need to work hard. Like this is easy. It's like, oh, get other people to build your audience for you. Oh, okay. So I don't really need to do anything. I can just have fun and enjoy the process.
Yeah. Yeah. So having fun, letting it be easy means you don't have to work hard to grow the community or to really market your thing. You need to get clear on what makes this meaningful and fun for you so that you have that clear value that community can gather around.
I think like that's the point of the origin story. It's like, we introduce ourselves as we used to be idiots. We discovered the power of community, but we also realized like we're idiots, we're lazy, we like to have fun. We're not willing to work hard. So let's create our own version of this, which is kind of like the whole business best friends principle, which is our entire business of like, we harness the power of community, but we do it in a fun, lazy way. So it's kind of like, you're an idiot, I'm an idiot. We discover the power of community and we think that's the solution, but then we realized we're idiots once again. Because we need to use the power of community, but in our way. And we're lazy, we like to have fun. So that's how the three elements came together. So it's like the power of community presented in a lazy, fun way. That is what we're offering. So it's kind of like, the way that I see it, it's kind of like you, as an example, it's like, you tried to make friends in college and failed and became kind of obsessed with learning how community works. But you learned the old way of community for a long time. I'm assuming that's the process you went through. Like, I don't know exactly, but it's like you discover the power of community, but you kind of assumed you had to do everything yourself. Yet, ironically, like the best community you've been a part of was created by someone else. And then that like introduces me. So it's like, hey, I'm an idiot. I thought I had to be a coach because everyone told me so. Turns out all I wanted was to be part of a community. And I just started the community, but I didn't really have to do anything after that because it just happened by itself. And that's how we kind of both came from our different spots and discovered the power of this new type of community. And then we discover once again, okay, we're idiots because the power of community is amazing, but we need to do it in our own way. And that's the final twist of hey, now we're business best friends. So it's like, we harness the power of community, but we do it in a fun, lazy way because that is who we are. And that is what we can teach you. That's basically the structure of what we're selling. So that's kind of how I see it. I could be wrong and maybe there's a better way to do it, but that's kind of how I was seeing it.
All right, give me a minute to kind of process this. I feel like
Sure.
I feel like we're zooming in way too much on the aspect of we're idiots and having fun and that kind of thing. It's like the way that the perfect webinar works is I have this thing that I want to sell you. And I need you to believe that this thing is the only way that you're going to get what you need. So if the thing that we're selling is a 5-minute Facebook group, we have to establish what is the before and what is the after for us of a 5-minute Facebook group. How did we learn what that was?
if you want, like, I feel like maybe we're kind of trying too hard, so maybe we can end things for now. You can go eat and we can see like if something comes up today, we can hop on another call. If not, just tomorrow, because I feel like we're trying to force this when we should just let floaching happen.
Mhm.
'Cause I feel like everything else is there. Like the other stories for the 3 different principles, they're there. You just need to kind of like flesh it out a bit. And that might just come from when we practice and you tell it. I think it's really this one first initial story that we're missing. And it's like, we don't want to force this. We haven't forced anything else. So let's not try to force this.
Yeah.
Because, you know, given the slogan, ah, crap, we're idiots. If we force it, it's literally going to be crap. And I mean, maybe it's my fault because I'm thinking like, oh, we're doing the webinar together, so it makes sense we do like the first story together, and maybe that's a dumb idea. I don't know. I think for now, just like take a break and let our brains do what our brains are going to do, and this is the solution is going to present itself.
Yeah. I think we may be trying to do too many things in one step instead of breaking it up into, because I feel like introductions are a separate thing. The big domino is a separate thing. The aspects of like who we are and the fun elements of our character, like we kind of joke about being idiots, like that's a whole different dynamic, and we're trying to like make one thing do all of that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's gonna be the same thing we always do. We're like, yeah, we're overcomplicating things. Let's just keep it simple.
So I don't know. Yeah, let's take a break and step back and see what pops up.
All right, so I guess maybe talk later. If not, talk tomorrow, and whatever is meant to come up, I'm sure is going to come up.
Sounds good.
All right. By the way, how are you feeling? You seem to be doing better.
Yeah, I feel a lot better. My sore throat's getting a lot. I mean, it's not sore anymore. It's still a little like swollen, but it doesn't hurt anymore. And I don't feel as like quite as drained and exhausted as I have been. I still feel tired, but I don't have that headache that was just hanging around. So I feel like by tomorrow I should be almost back to normal. So hoping to just keep taking it easy. And I have this like slight upset stomach though. Like from yesterday afternoon to like today, my stomach hasn't quite been settled for whatever reason. I gotta charge my watch.
Weird.
But yeah, other than that, yeah, definitely feel a lot better today than I have most of the week. So thanks, man.
My pleasure for asking about your sickness. Like, I don't know what you were thanking me for, but you're welcome.
Yeah, I guess just the chat and yeah.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm really enjoying doing this business with you.
Me too. See
All
you
right.
later.
Your day.